Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 7 of the Wedding Jigsaw podcast. Now, as you know, the whole idea of the Wedding Jigsaw podcast is to let you get to know the personalities behind the wedding suppliers. Now, today, we're going to go into an area that is I'm particularly fond of, and that is magic, prestidigitation. That's easy for me to say. And today, we're going to talk to a guy that I've known for years. He's one of the best magicians on the circuit, and I'm really looking forward to talking to him. I've known him for a long, long time. He describes his particular form of entertainment as flexible, funny, memorable, and designed to enhance the experience of the wedding guests. And that sums it up perfectly. So it's a very, very special welcome to Trevor Price. Welcome, Trevor. Great to see you here.
Thank you very much, Donald. That's a lovely introduction. Thank you very much. It's great to be able to come on and talk about myself a wee bit, because when you're married, you tend to have to be a good listener, don't you? So it's nice to be able to come on and be able to talk about what I do and whatnot. I'm really looking forward to this, and I'm very excited to be here.
Brilliant, brilliant. Well, obviously the wife isn't listening, because if she did, she'd be coming to hitting you right the head with the frying pan. I haven't heard 100%. That, I think. Right, Trevor, tell us a wee bit about your background in the magic world, please.
Oh my goodness,
I know it's a big question.
Yes, quite a question. I mean, it goes back. I think I was the first paid pupil in my school at 14 for a service. I think that's really where it started.
Wow.
And I haven't stopped since then, which is quite a long time now. And I got into children's magic at that stage and worked extensively at parties and things. And then I became aware in my 20s that close-up magic in Northern Ireland wasn't happening. If you went to London or Edinburgh or any other big city, you went into a restaurant, there were table magicians working everywhere. And it was a great idea that if meals were late or people were there having birthdays, you could go in and you could get the table a bit of crack and atmosphere in the room, get the table going and look after them. So I approached Botanic Inns at the time, and Peter Campbell had just opened up Madison's at the time. That's how just back a bit there.
Yeah.
And Peter put me in for 8 weeks, and everybody filled in the little comment cards. They went to the head office, and Jazz Mooney, who ran the whole operation at the time, put me into the Fly, McHugh's, he put me into the whole lot.
Brilliant.
And that started me really for 25 years. I was resident every weekend in Belfast, including a 10-year stint in Benedict's every Friday night. And at one time I was working Thursday, Friday, Saturday and Sunday at a residency in Maloney's, which is gone. I think it's the Barking Dog now on the Malone Road.
Ah, yes, yes.
So I did the residencies, and that led me into the corporate market, and then that led me into weddings. I kept being asked, do you do weddings? Because people loved what happened at the tables, and that got me into the wedding market, and ended up in me having a very close association with Gal Gorm.
Oh, yes. Mm-hmm.
Where I was resident there for 3 years every Sunday in Gillies, looking after the tables there. And of course, then I did the wedding fairs there, and I'm very fond of Gal Gorm for that reason. So the wedding market for the last 10, 15, even 20 years has been my main focus, and I absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. It's a very special, and you're very honored to be asked to somebody's wedding to perform. It's not to be taken lightly, and it's very important to me that it's done right, and that whenever you're finished, the guests report back to the bride and groom how much they enjoyed it, how much they loved it. And of course, that helps to build the whole day and just make everything better.
Yeah, yeah. I take it, Trevor, you don't have time anymore for the residencies?
Well, I've got 2 boys, 8 and 9, and I was a late starter. Very late starter. And of course, I want to dedicate as much time to them as I can. So I couldn't keep doing corporate, children's, stage and weddings. So therefore I decided really just to really concentrate and give all my energy into the weddings, and keep the rest, of course, at the end of the day, is the most important thing, is the family.
Oh, of course it is. Definitely. No doubt about that. So when we're talking about a wedding, Trevor, where do you see a magician fitting in a wedding day? I mean, there's got to be more than one place a magician like yourself can fit.
Great question. But first of all, Donald, let's rephrase the word magician and turn it into entertainer.
Of course.
Because a lot of people think of the word magician, I don't turn up with doves and a rabbit, and I don't saw anybody in half. unless there's a special request.
Yes.
But but so the entertainer is first and foremost. It's like a good leader of a band or a good comedian. They've got to be really great entertainers first, and they've got to have a good understanding of people.
Yes.
Because it's all about the people at the wedding. It's not about me. It's about them. And so therefore, the entertainment comes first, and then the magician. But to answer your question that you've kindly asked, Donald, in my view, the best time to have a magician at a wedding is when the photographs are taken, which is typically 3 to 5 or 4 to 6, because that's the point of the wedding where the energy can drop.
Exactly.
The guests, the ceremony's over. They're waiting for the meal. That's the next big thing, and there's nothing in between. There's plenty of good musicians out there. You can put on a guitar and a harpist and all, and I'll never knock that. But I would say after 10 minutes, sometimes it's like there's background noise.
Yeah.
Or you could have a tape playing. I don't mean to be disingenuous to anybody that does it.
No.
But the difference between that and me is I'm interactive and with the guests. So the grannies will all sit together. Young people will all sit together. The girls, the bride will all be over there. And you've got to have something that works with them all, and go in and keep the crack going and the fun going. And that interactive element is very, very important. The other time at a wedding, particularly with bigger weddings, it's a big room. If you have a magician at the tables between courses, it's a great icebreaker, because often at weddings you find people at the tables don't always know each other. In fact, more often than not, they don't know each other. And if you go around and do a bit of magic at the table, get a bit of fun going, it's a real talking point for them, and it can break the ice and bring people together. So it can work at the tables as well.
Right. I never thought of that in between the courses. That's a good idea.
It is good, and because not all the tables get served at the same time as well. So you can, when people aren't eating or waiting on their food coming, you can also occupy them there as well.
Great.
The other time, and I'm particularly fond of this as well, but it's a little bit of cabaret.
Yes.
So after the meal, before the band, a half hour of a bit of stand-up and comedy. And the bridegroom will often say, get so-and-so up, and have a bit of crack with them. And they love to watch that, of course. That's again, emphasis is on entertainment and comedy. The magic, of course, I hope is stunning and utterly professional. But as an entertainer, you've got to really make sure that you really lift the room again.
Definitely.
So, the last thing, and it's probably my least favorite, but I'm happy to do it, is if you have a lot of children at the wedding and you want them looked after during the speeches.
Yes.
I'll take them out for an hour.
Actually, you've done that when I've done that. You've done. I was at a function with you last year. It was a private function, and you actually had done the tables. You'd been around doing the tables earlier during the meal, and then I was doing the hypnotic show after the meal, and you took all the kids into another room, which was brilliant. It let me go on with what I was doing. And the kids were obviously highly amused, and it meant that the older folk could concentrate on what I was doing, and I thought it was marvelous. It was great. Yeah,
it's a good idea. And I mean, if there are a lot of children and people book me for the photographs, there's no problem staying. Once I take a wedding on, I'm committed that day. I don't really want anything else that day, because it just isn't fair on them. It's not fair on me either.
I agree with that. Yes.
Yeah. So I mean, if they want me there to do the close-up and a bit of cabaret, I can do that. If you want me there to look after the kids later, I can do that. Or if they just want a bit of cabaret, I can do that. So the day is dedicated. I mean, they'll get me 100% if they book me.
Brilliant. That's excellent. Funny, you and I, we both sing from the same hymn sheet. Back in the days, many, many years ago, when I was managing bands, that was my mantra. I used to tell them constantly, yes, you're a musician, or yes, you're a singer, but first and foremost, you're an entertainer. And if you can't entertain, it doesn't matter if you're the greatest singer in the world. If people don't like you because you're not entertaining them, you might as well not be there. And I've actually said that, there's a few people, I'm not going to mention names, but there's a couple of people who are really, really up there in the sense of they earn lots of money, they fill venues, and they are not the greatest singers in the world, but they are brilliant entertainers. And that proves the point. It really does prove the point. I used to look after a band many, many years ago from Sheffield called the Gutter Band. And They were brilliant. They were just absolutely fantastic. And we used to sell out everywhere we went. And it was back in the early days when videos were just starting to be made. And somebody made a video of it and sent it to me. And I plugged in and listened to it. And for the first time, I haven't worked with these guys for about 2.5, 3 years. I realized the lead singer sang flat. And I never knew it, because he was such an entertainer. He was so good, So entertaining, being an entertainer is the key to it. Whatever way you entertain is secondary. You have to entertain. So I totally get with you.
For example, Tommy Cooper.
Oh yes.
What a great entertainer. Not the best magician, but it didn't matter.
No, it did not. Tommy was brilliant.
Yeah.
It
is about personality, and you've got to be good with people, and you've got to have a way with you, and you've got to understand people. And empathy is a great thing in this game. And I do see other people out in this game who don't quite have that, and you could be the best magician in the world, but as you say, if you don't connect, what's the point?
You're wasting your time completely. Well, actually, on that point, this is something I was wondering. I know this happens with bands, right? And I've heard of it. I've actually heard of it happen with comedians. Do you get people coming up to you, Trevor, and said, "Here, will you do the trick where such and such happens?" Where they asked you to do a particular trick?
Yes.
Right.
Yes, you do get that all the time, and it's not my show; it's their show.
Of course.
Right. So if I can't do what they are asking me to do, I always say that's a great trick. But you know what? I've one better. Watch this. You'll love it. So and in a way, you're still keeping them happy and showing them, and I will show them something really great when I say that. And often two people come and ask you for something that they remember but don't remember properly.
Yes, of course.
So, but yes, I can. The repertoire is quite deep and wide, from cards to coins, and to the other various sort of novelty things I would do that suit my personality. It's very important that what I do suits me. There's some great tricks out there, but I don't do them because it really doesn't suit me, and you've got to know what works best for you. But yes, we do get now. For example, I have a wedding coming up in August, and the bride has asked, could I produce a watch? She's bought a beautiful watch for the groom as a surprise on the day. So I'm going to be producing that magically.
Brilliant.
For her on the day for him. So I'm looking forward to that. That's a wee bit different. So yes, special requests can be catered for.
You're not going to take it off them later and hit it with a hammer or anything like that?
No.
And restore it? Yeah.
You're giving me ideas. I like it. As long as I restore it.
That's the key to it. You must be able to restore it. So it's fair to say, Trevor, is it that you can change your material to suit different audiences? I mean, you go in there and make a decision. What's going to go well?
It's your spider senses. When you're doing it for over 45 years, your spider senses are fine-tuned, and you know right away what to do and what not to do. You rarely get it wrong, and if you do get it wrong, you can quickly change it to something else. But the young, the 20 to 30 age group are great fun to do. And then you've got the 40 to 50s, and they're good too, and then the older weddings as well.
So. In terms of timings, Trevor, I mean, what do you feel is a good length of time to be doing a performance at a wedding? I suppose it depends on which performance you're doing.
Depends on the size of the wedding. So, weddings with 200 plus, you're going to need me there for 2 hours during the photographs.
At least.
At least 2 hours, And now I do at smaller weddings where you have 50 or 60 people, an hour and a half is fine. An hour and a half is fine. Yeah. And there's probably no need really to have me later. But at the bigger weddings, certainly a bit of cabaret later or whatnot tends to work. But then every bride and groom's got their own idea. And whatever at the end of the day, it's what they want. But yes, that's the time. The cabaret is about half an hour, 35 minutes, plenty long enough. The close-up's 2 hours. That allows me to get around everybody.
Yeah.
And the looking after the kids is 45 minutes to an hour normally.
Really?
Yeah. But funny, nobody ever comes to get them.
No, I was thinking of.
I have to sort of say, time's up, And the around the tables is interesting, as it really does take 2 hours.
I would think it would,
Because you're only working between courses, so you need that time and you don't want to leave any tables out. You don't want anybody to come and say, oh, he never got to my table. I don't want that. I want everybody to be looked after and kept happy. Yeah.
And I've often wondered, Trevor, watching magicians perform when they're going from table to table, do you basically do the same routine for each table, or will you vary it a bit?
You do the same thing differently because they're not the same people.
Oh, I know that. Yeah.
So yeah, well, sorry, yeah, no, sorry, they don't see it the same as the previous table.
Right.
You might have people who are older at that table. There might be somebody there who really doesn't want to see it.
Yes.
And that's fine. That's absolutely no problem. You might have a table who doesn't want to see any of it at all, and that's fine because again, it's their day. It's not my day. But that really happens, But no, you do it slightly different at each table because there'll be a different tone. For example, if you go to a table and they're having a great time already, well, you can bring that up a bit higher.
Yeah.
But if you go to a table where it's all a bit staid, you come in a wee bit gentler and you bring them up slowly, So, but you're doing the same magic. It's just your approach is different.
I've heard it said a few times. I always thought it's a real a pity because of the people who are saying, because they're missing out. Some people have only ever experienced the school magician, and to be honest with you, quite often the school magician wasn't great, and that colors their opinion of magicians for the rest of their lives. And it's a real pity. I've heard some people say, oh God, here comes the magician. And I'm thinking to myself, this guy's brilliant. You ought to see what he's going to do, give him a chance, and they're already sort of got this negative head on. And it's all because of some horrible experience they had when they were a kid, and it's an awful pity. And that's something, unfortunately, people like yourself have to get over that barrier, and it's not you didn't make the barrier,
It's also because some magicians, when they get people up, will use those people and make not a fool out of them, but embarrass them.
Yeah.
And that type of act is still quite popular, unfortunately, today. I don't do that. I don't embarrass people. I don't think it's a good idea to do that. You want, if somebody's help, so people are afraid of being picked on.
Aye. Yeah.
And I make sure, I always say, the only fool here is me. And I hope you enjoy this. Just take a card. It's up to you, whatever one you want, away we'll go. So put them at their ease right away. And I'm very self-deprecating. I mean, I'm nothing to look at, and I'm older now. And I mean, I use that in the act, and again, because it's not about me, it's about them. And if you're self-deprecating about yourself, people will come closer towards you anyway.
I think you're right. There you are, indeed. I remember reading a great book. I can't remember which one it was, but one of Darren Brown's books a few years ago. And the whole ethos was about the wonder that you can make in someone's mind. It's giving them this sense of wonder. Even if it's only I wonder how you did it. But it's a wow. People not make, as you say, not making a fool of them. It's actually giving them something that they wouldn't have had. To take away and live with them.
Yeah, there's a lot of talk about this amongst magicians, and my view on it, I'd rather make them laugh.
Oh yeah.
I'd rather make them laugh, because at the end of the day, that's everybody wants that. And if you leave them with something where they go, oh my, how did he do what? How did he do that? Then that's great. But it's back to the entertainment thing first, I know this wonder thing. I had some other magicians put a big emphasis on it, but I a wee bit in the other direction and try to give people a really fun experience. And then the wonder comes in then. Yeah.
Well, I know, because I've known you for so long, I know you've worked for some very prestigious people. Do you want to drop a few names?
Oh, yeah, well, Chris de Burgh and Tom Jones. And in fact, it was David Hull gave me the Tom Jones book, and I don't know if you were there at the time or not, don't know, but that was Susan maybe gave it to me.
Right.
Worked with Matt Smith, Doctor Who. Did a film with him, actually.
Brilliant.
Yeah. So yes, there's been Van Morrison. There's been quite a lot over the years, and Tony Christie. Not so much in the last year, unfortunately.
No, unfortunately, no. They haven't done much either.
No, they haven't. But I have to say, they were all lovely. I mean, I couldn't say anything bad about any of them. Really, no. They were all lovely. They're all a lot smaller than I thought they were. When you meet them in real life,
the guy that actually blew me away about how small he was Sly Stallone. You
Oh,
know,
really?
he's really small. Yeah. I mean, this big tough guy in all the movies,
Yeah.
I think he must be standing in the box, But but once again, very likable character,
Yeah.
But not as big as you would think. It's probably the
No,
best way of saying it.
no.
Brilliant. So you're Northern Ireland based. I know you're based near Belfast, but how far do you cover, Trevor, normally?
Well, that's a good question, and I go anywhere. So I have worked in Scotland and England, and if you want me to travel over to your wedding there, it's absolutely no problem. Absolutely no problem. Down south, no problem. I mean, in 2018, I was voted Ireland's Entertainer of the Year.
Brilliant. Didn't know
So
that.
that covers the whole of Ireland, and I'm going to represent the UK in the Blackpool Convention in 2018. I think it came second, but that was on the largest stage in Europe.
Yeah,
You
for the
know it
benefit
well,
of
don't know.
people who aren't aware of just how prestigious the Blackpool Convention is, it is the biggest magic convention in the world. I think in 2018 it probably had 3,500 people attending it.
Well, there were 3,000 in the theatre. Yeah.
Yeah, the theater it is phenomenal. It's in the beautiful theater in the what do you call it? The main building.
Winter Gardens.
Winter Garden. It's a wonderful
Mm-hmm.
theater,
Mm-hmm.
and it is absolutely stuffed.
Yeah.
It's a fantastic event.
So
To do well at that, you're doing really well. Yeah.
oh, thank you. Yes, it was a great experience. So it was. But so that gives me an All Ireland. I do work in Dublin and Cork and Limerick and whatnot. I'm very happy. I mean, at the end of the day, Ireland's not that big.
No, you go any more than what 200 miles and you fall off.
You know,
You're not.
people. I get people go, do you come up to Stroke City? And I would go, well, why wouldn't I? It's only an hour and a half away. You know, I mean, people seem to go, oh, you don't go. It's an awful long way. It's not. You live in America, you'd know all about it, wouldn't you?
Well, or Australia, talk about
Australia.
they think of nothing driving 500 miles, for a nice meal or something, We really are a bit spoiled because we're stuck on such a small island.
That's right. And actually, I enjoy the travel. I enjoy going to those venues. It's something different, and it's it's a whole day away. Mm-hmm. And no, I quite enjoy traveling if I have to. Yeah.
Yeah, it's part of the game,
Mm-hmm.
So I tell you, Trevor, the question I have for you, and it's an awkward one because I know from what you've said now, there's different packages. I mean, somebody might be saying, I just want you to do the tables. Somebody might be saying, I want you to do the tables and stay and do a bit of cabaret. Somebody might say, tables, cabaret, or tables and children, or what. How do you work out a price for people?
Pricing really is to do with distance and also the size of the wedding. So really, there's so many factors. I think it's hard to talk about money here. But what I would say is I'm not hard to pay and I'm not money driven. So it's because I don't do it for the money, I do it for the love of it. But so what I would suggest is if anybody has any inquiries, is to go onto my website, trevorpricemagician.com, or contact me on Facebook Messenger. And I'd be very happy to give a competitive and fair quote. And I think it's important that I feel I've offered value for money, and that people, when they come away from it, think, wow, that guy was paid such and such, but boy, worth every penny.
Funny, so Trevor,
really, it's not really what to pay, it's really more what they're going to get. I hope, yeah.
That's one of the things I've noticed since I've started doing these podcasts. Most of the people I've talked to, they've said exactly more or less the same thing as you're saying. While they have to live, and they have to get paid for their service, but the money is not the biggest thing. It really is about giving quality and, making sure that the people who have paid them, usually the bride and groom, are extremely happy with what they have got for their money. And that's the most important thing. And I'm really glad to hear you say the same thing. That's brilliant. Yeah. Really good. Yeah, I suppose really
you've got to look back one day.
Oh, absolutely.
And you want to have when you look back, you want it to look good, don't you?
Of course you do. And the other thing as well is that, I mean, there's no doubt about it. If you do a good job, they'll tell one or two people. If somebody rips somebody off, they'll tell everybody. And soon, eventually, you stop seeing those people working because it dries up.
That's a great point. 80% of my bookings come from people who've seen me at weddings.
I would think so.
Actually seen what it is and what we do, and they get it. And then 80% of my work comes from other people seeing me working at weddings.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think one of the things is that, I, I still have this thing that people have difficulty understanding. It's one of the reasons why I wanted you on this podcast. People have difficulty understanding exactly what a performer like you can do, because it's not something you see on television every day. You don't at all. Gone are the days when David Nixon was on the TV. You and I are probably the only two people who remember David Nixon, by the way. But anyway, but it's not as if, probably the last, what I would call magician, as opposed to, big flashy lights and bangs and whops. What was, what do you call the small guy who died there?
Paul Daniels.
Paul Daniels, Paul Daniels had a personality. He was a performer. He was bigger than he actually on his stature, and he was a great magician. But people knew that's what a magician should be able to do. There's nobody like that on TV now, not really. You've got a lot of mentalism, as I say, you've a lot of illusionists and stuff like that. But when you say to people, I can come to your wedding and bring something added to it as a magician around the tables, they don't really understand it unless they have seen you, which is probably why you get so much work from weddings.
Yeah. I hope. Thank you, Donald, for giving me the opportunity to try to clarify what it is we do and to try to explain it. It's very difficult to quantify, but it's better to see than to talk about it. You're right. Yeah.
Definitely is. And I know, because I've worked with you so often, that people go away very happy. They're never disappointed.
Oh, well, thank you. That's very kind of you.
It's a fact, Trevor. It just is. I can totally recommend you to anyone. Just once again about connections. Your website is what?
www.trevorpricemagician.com.
Okay. And then you have David Instagram account?
Instagram, Facebook as well. A lot of people contact me on Messenger now. Seems to be one of the preferred methods as well.
Yeah.
And sadly, we don't get the phone calls we used to get, where it's a lot easier to talk to people and explain, and they also get a bit of a feel for you on the phone as well.
Yeah.
So I'm more than happy to take phone calls.
Great.
Sir, and some people want to meet me before the wedding just for a chat and a coffee. I think they get a feel for me as well and do a little bit of magic for them. So I'm happy to meet in coffee shops or when we get back to normal in a hotel or wherever, have a chat over a coffee and go over things. Very happy to do that.
That's a brilliant idea, actually. I hadn't thought of that. That's a really good idea.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Okay. Well, I will attach your contact details to the podcast wherever anybody's listening to it. If they look down on their the system that they're on, they will find all those details, which is good. Probably the last thing I'm going to ask you, because I asked everybody this, Trevor, what if you were sort of giving one piece of advice to a couple who are getting married, to do with entertainment now, right? What would your advice be? What would you advise? Am I breaking up? If you were giving a couple one piece of advice to do with entertainment as opposed to anything else, what would it be? What would you say to them?
Whoa. I think it would be to book somebody that you really like, because if you like them, you'll like what they do. And if you like what you do, you'll be very happy then on the day.
That makes a lot of sense. I would also think, Trevor, to book, if they do find somebody they really like, book them there and then, tie them down quickly so they get them.
Yes. I hate to disappoint people that come on and already have a wedding booked, or they've seen me somewhere and they've their heart set on because they've seen you and they want that on the day, and you can't do it. So yes, if you're thinking about it, book it.
Yeah. Brilliant. Trevor, it has been an absolute pleasure. I knew it would be. I was looking forward to this one in a big way.
Thank you,
it really has been great fun. Thank you so much for coming on. Yeah, I really appreciate it.
You're welcome, Donald. Very best. Thanks again. All good luck. Thank you.
Folks, thank you for listening to the Wedding Jigsaw podcast. You can catch us again next time. From me, Donald, and Trevor, goodbye.